Hello and welcome to episode number 2 of Colours of COVID, the Alchemy Arts series set up in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on mental health. Today, we're delighted to be joined by McClenan, lead vocalist for Manchester-based indie rock band Kaleiders. Kaleiders are a hard-hitting three-piece indie rock band based in Manchester, Warrington. They are led by lead vocalist Matt McClenan, who's joining us today, with Alex Highcock on the drums and David King on the guitar. The band have spent time performing across the country, and the latest single, Subway Station, came out at the beginning of May. They were set to release their debut album this summer, but like most other things, it was pushed back due to COVID-19 outbreak. Thank you very much for agreeing to take part in this podcast. It's so nice to have you on board.
Well, thank you very much for having me on. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been able to do something like this, so it's been good to be able to get back involved.
In today's episode, we're going to be taking a closer look at music as a creative output during lockdown. Now, 2020 certainly hasn't been the year of music that most people were anticipating. Major festivals were cancelled, world tours cut short, and other shows pushed back until a later date. The up-and-coming UK music scene has been hit harder than most, and Kaleiders are one of the many bands who have put their exciting plans on hold. In today's episode, we'll speak with Matt to find out how he has used music to stay creative during the last few months and find out more about what comes next. First of all, just let me know, what was the reasoning behind the name Kaleiders?
I would love to sit here and say that there was some sort of deeper meaning behind the naming of it, but it literally came down to the result of, we were driving back from band practice a couple of years ago, and we were like, guys, we need to think of a better name. We were not happy with our old name at all, and we're just like, we need to think of something. We're trying to brainstorm. We're trying to think of, important meanings. Is there anything that we could, name it after that we all agree? At the end of the day, it was just like, well, what about Kaleiders, but spelt like kaleidoscope? We're all just like, sure, we'll go with that. But so yeah, I'd love to say there's some sort of deeper meaning behind it, but unfortunately, it's just we thought it sounded good and we needed a better name than what we already had, so we went with that. So what was the? So now I'm intrigued. Actually, what was the name? What was the previous name then? It was the actual kind of lineup and setup of the band. The band originally started when we were in high school, so in our last year at high school, just as kind of like a covers, playing rubbish versions of "Sweet Child of Mine" at pub gigs and stuff like that. So we did that with that kind of setup for about 18 months, and we were called About Time.
Okay.
And not only have we then, since renaming the band, realised there's another band in Warrington called About Time, another covers band in Warrington called About Time, so it's a good thing that we changed it. But when the lineups changed, I'm actually not anymore, but for the longest time, I'm the only consistent person who's been in since high school. The drummer and bass players have changed, and but now, actually, over lockdown, we've managed to rejig our lineup, and one of the other guys who founded, Dave, his name is, founded the band with me, has rejoined the band as our lead guitarist over lockdown, which is something that we're all really excited about.
Okay, so Matt, tell us about Kaleiders and some of the music that you were working on before the pandemic properly hit.
Yeah, that was a big one. That's a big hit. Over the course of the last 12 months, or sort of since last December, I think it was, as part of my final year university project, we decided that we wanted to go into the studio, and I do audio engineering and studio work at university. And as part of my honours project, we decided that we wanted to record an album, our debut album. We've had a few singles out in the past, and a demo EP, which we released about 3 or 4 years ago. I can't quite remember how long it was. But we decided we wanted to get a fully produced, full-length album with some of the music that we've written over the last few years. And that, that's exactly what we did. We went in, we spent between the course of December and April, we recorded. I produced it myself, and mixed it. We produced a full-length album. It was scheduled for a May time release, which we did have to postpone, which was a tough decision to make, tough call to make. And alongside that, we decided we wanted to do a music video as well, which we've now done, which we had to cancel, and we're going to have a release show to follow and to promote the release of the album, which we were all looking forward to. Which we all had to, we booked in, we had to cancel, and we've rescheduled. So the album is still coming out. It's coming out next month, actually, at the end of the month. That was a decision that we made probably back in April or May time to do it in October, expecting things to be a bit more normal by this point. It's a bit grim at the moment to sort of see that that's not really the case, but we're still going ahead with the release anyway, just because, there's only so long that you can sit on an egg before it hatches, basically. So
yeah, I mean, the thing is, we've seen that. I've spoken to a lot of organizations, a lot of kind of individuals as well about, that were planning, so many things for 2020, and then suddenly when the pandemic hit, they suddenly had to rejig a lot of stuff. But I think in some ways, or in many ways, it's good to just kind of sit back and just kind of reflect on what's going on as well. Sometimes that helps a lot as well. And the times that we live in, we're so rushed, and we feel as though that we need to go at 100 miles per hour. Sometimes it's this kind of force kind of reflection period is almost it's really important. I mean, it kind of leads me on to the next question, really. You guys weren't the only band to be hit hard by the pandemic, but it must still feel, kind of surreal not being able to do what you love most in front of a live crowd. I mean, that's probably the biggest one. Yeah,
that's been tough as well. With particularly around the Warrington and Manchester scene, it's, I think, a lot of sort of the publicity that we get and a lot of attention that we get as a band are through our live performances. We kind of pride ourselves a bit on our live performances, in particular. And it's been hit real hard. Not only was the headline gig, which was scheduled for our album release, which we had to cancel. Remember in April, over the springtime, we had a load of shows that were just gone. We wanted to do kind of this summer, with it being a summer after I myself finished university, kind of wanted to go for it on a bit of a blowout, and kind of following the release of the album and riding that high, sort of go on a DIY UK tour, kind of, play these kind of underground, grimy bars, which no one will go to, but it'll be a good laugh because we'll just be all over the place. Which, unfortunately was something that we weren't able to do. And it was only actually last week, maybe the week before, that I actually played the very first live performance of 2020, at the start of September, end of August. It was...
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's good. So Matt, has lockdown given you a chance to sit down and record some new ideas and music, or has it been a case of just stepping away from music to try and re-energize?
I think initially it was a case of kind of being burnt out creatively from the whole process of writing, recording and producing a full-length album. I kind of took the time to sort of step back and rest, for the lack of a better word, and sort of get those creative muscles sort of flowing again after they burned out. But particularly over the last 2 months, it's just been non-stop, and it's allowed for a lot more inspiration of ideas, to write about. There's been not many songs in history that have been written about a global pandemic before. So it's definitely a unique thing, which I suppose has been good. And over the course of the last, with us having been able to start actually, still keeping social distance measures, but be able to start having band practice again on a weekly basis. We've been working on ideas, and we've probably got enough ideas to keep us going for, to work on, to eventually do a second full-length album. So it's been a lot, which is good and bad. The good side is that it's a lot of new music that we've been able to work on following the thing. Once you do such a massive project, you kind of have that feeling in the back of your mind, like, this is everything I've got now. This is all my ideas all at once, and we're not going to have any fresh ideas after this. And then we take the time to be able to sit down and get new thoughts and new inspirations, and then you bust out these more ideas. You kind of sit back and like, I've still got some stuff to say.
Yeah, and there's new experiences as well. Matt, you mentioned a little earlier before that you were all set to release your debut album over the summer, but like most things this summer, it's been put on hold because of the pandemic. How difficult was it to make that decision?
It was tough. It was really tough. It was one of those where it was, because it was essentially the sole focus on my mind for the best part of 4 or 5 months, working on it and getting it finished and getting it up to scratch. Especially, with it being self-produced, we did everything ourselves except for the mastering process, which my friend Graham, this is a little plug for you, 209 Mastering, he mastered it for us as a bit of a weight off my shoulders. But it was tough because it was kind of like, that build up and that work on it for so long. You just kind of want everyone, you finish it and then you want everyone to hear it immediately, and you want it to go down well. But the decision that we, to postpone it, to cancel the music video filming and, reschedule that, it was tough because it was sort of like this thing we've been looking forward to for so long. And then last minute, it was like, well, we're now going to need to wait a little bit longer. Since then, we've filmed a music video, which is coming out at the start, it's in about a couple of weeks, start of October, that's coming out, I think. And, it's easy now to say, oh yeah, it's coming out the whole album will be out in just over a month now. But it's been a tough, a long wait. Because you don't know if people are going to like it.
Yeah.
It's just that longer sort of sitting by yourself, prolonging that thought of, well, is anyone actually going to listen to it? Is anyone going to like it? And you do start, especially when you've got nothing else but to be stuck with your own thoughts, and especially at the start of lockdown when you couldn't go outside and stuff like that. It's a long time to be sat thinking, worrying that, what was this all worth it?
Yeah, I think lockdown's been difficult or a testing time for everyone, or a lot of people across the world, especially when it comes to keeping a positive frame of mind. Has music helped you through the difficult times? I mean, you talked a little bit about the things that you were thinking about and expectations about people liking the music and stuff, but has music helped you through the difficult times caused by COVID-19?
Definitely. Not just through, at the start, the first sort of wave, the first 3 weeks of lockdown, I was still focusing on my work, which, music sounds like a cliche of some sort, but it's, music is my work. When I'm not doing band, stuff for Kaleiders, I'm recording other musicians. I'm doing, I'm composing I've done quite a bit of work through music, through lockdown. I've done some compositions for some other people's projects. I've even worked on some video game soundtracks at the start, which that was a unique thing for me, which I really enjoyed, sort of getting involved with that. And then moving away from that sort of stuff that I've done side of stuff, it was just having the free time to listen to a lot more different varieties of music, and just being able to say, right, well, I've actually recently started, some people have, say, like a list of films that they want to listen to watch, sorry. film list, I've done the same thing with albums.
Okay.
Because there's lots of very key iconic albums which I've never, I regret to say, I'm not going to say which ones I've not listened to for the sake of being berated online, but there's lots of very iconic, famous albums which I've never listened to, and I thought, well, now's the time to. So I'm gradually, over the last few weeks, I've set myself that little personal project of just day by day trying and check off this list, and some of them are tough to get through, but
you know what would be good is that when this goes out, is that is for the viewers to kind of guess what Matt's albums were that he listened to during lockdown. That might be a good little comp. I suppose that when people are able to safely go back to music and venues and listen to gigs, your hunger and excitement will just skyrocket when the time comes. Do you think that will be the case?
Definitely. From what I've heard, through the grapevine, what I've heard a lot of my friends and other people that I know say, everyone's just desperate for that. I think it's one of those which you don't really realise how much you miss it when it's just there, when it's so easily accessible. But a lot of people have been saying, I wish I could go to a concert. I'm really in the mood to go to a concert. With festival season just being over, and even like today, it's a beautiful day today, and you just think, I'm in the mood to go. I just want to be in a big field, drinking room temperature beer for breakfast. It's just kind of, getting back into that atmosphere, because there's something, even with doing stuff like Facebook live stream shows over lockdown, the reception for that's been really good, because I think people are just enjoying live music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the idea of being around people and experiencing that sort of music as well, it's really important. What I think going forward, Matt, what would you say to everyone who has used music as a stress reliever over the last few months, or even picked up a musical instrument for the first time during lockdown?
I'll say, all I can really say to that is keep at it. I understand that people, I in no way suggest that anyone gets as obsessed with it as me, because it does take over your life and it is all consuming, but definitely keep at it. I know a lot of my friends who over lockdown have said, I want to try and pick up the bass guitar or something like that, and they'll, a few days later, they'll say, oh, it's so hard. It's like, it is hard, but it is really rewarding. And for those like musicians who already play instruments and write music, it's just say whatever it is that you want to say, and don't so much worry about what other people will think. I know I was saying before about like worrying that people not listening to why people don't like the album, but it's like, well, I've sort of come to realize that, well, we didn't really do it as a band. We didn't do it for, obviously we want other people to like it and listen to it, but we like it. We think it's great, and if we do say so ourselves, and we're just looking forward to everyone else being able to hear it. And if people don't like what we have to say, then they don't need to listen to it. And
I think that's one of the most important things, really, during lockdown, when people use creativity to do stuff. It's not necessarily about recognition from other people, but it's how that makes them feel. And I suppose if you guys really enjoy it and are proud of it, that's the most important thing. The fact that people will pick you up and like it, things like that is actually a bonus, I think. And I think that's the message that we want to get across from Alchemy side of it, is that just kind of the idea of being creative during lockdown is so important, and music's a beautiful outlet really for that.
Yeah, definitely. I love creativity in any way, and it's just whether that, not even necessarily through music, it's just in any sort of anything that you can think of to be creative. Just say what you want to say. through, whether that's through art, writing, music, whatever, just because I think that's sort of, I think a lot of people at the moment, not to sound too sort of philosophical and stuff like that, but a lot of people kind of maybe not are feeling as though they're not really being heard. With this being going on for so long and everything being a bit up in the air and everyone not really knowing what's going on at any given time, people probably feel like they're not really being heard. Yeah. So if you're feeling like that as it is, still just say what you want to say. Don't beat around the bush, and keep at it. Really, that's.
I suppose. I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit now, but finally, Matt, what comes next for Kaleiders, and what exciting plans are on the horizon for you guys?
It's we've got some really exciting stuff coming up. We're currently in the process of doing the editing and final touching up of our first music video, which is coming out in a couple of weeks for a single. We've got the official album announcement coming later this week on our social media platforms. So we're just gonna start getting that ball rolling there. Music video is out at the 6th of October, I think, so first week of October, and then at the end of October there's the albums dropping. We've got a charity single coming out towards the end of the year. We're having band practice at the moment. We've got a new lineup. We've gone from a 3-piece to a 4-piece. Everything's sounding massive. Just excited to crack back on working on new material and keep stepping forward, I suppose. One foot at a time.
Fantastic, Matt. You know what? It's gone really, really fast with everything like that. Is there anything else that you want to say? Is there any plugs that you want to give or promote or anything like that? I know we've talked about your band and a few shout outs to the audio guys, but is there anything else that you want to say before we go?
Yeah, I guess suppose the album coming out. The title of the album. This is official. First time saying what the album's called. The album's called Melancholy Undertones, and it'll be released on the 27th of October, 2020. We've currently got 2 singles out from the album out at the moment, which were released over the summer. Subway Station and Wheels. So please go and listen to them if you like. I don't know what to describe ourselves. Noisy indie punk, and even if you don't like it, just go and, even if it's not us, go and support your local artists however you can. Local artists, local musicians, local businesses. Stay safe and keep carrying on, basically.
Fantastic. Matt, thank you so much for joining us, man. It's really important to kind of hear local bands and people like yourself who are doing well, and then just kind of an opportunity for people to support you guys, because I think a lot of the time it's people get caught up with pop culture and all the stuff in the media, but they don't kind of support local bands. So just for you guys giving your time to a local kind of community group like us, that hopefully can give you a platform to bigger and better things. We just wish you the best of luck, and thank you so much for kind of coming on board, Matt.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much for having me on. It's gone really quick. I've had a really great time.
Thank you, Matt, for appearing and providing plenty of insight on this topic. We really hope you enjoyed listening to Kaleiders frontman Matt McClenan in today's episode of Colours of COVID. And perhaps some of what he said will resonate with you, especially if you have a passion for music too. Now, don't forget to share this around. You can find us on all the usual platforms like Spotify, YouTube, and even on our website. All that's left to be said is have a wonderful day and stay safe, and we'll see you all next time.